Again, with the latest details in federal agents' second deadly shooting of a Minnesota resident just this year, in 17 days. As video from the scene continues to emerge, here's what we know so far. 37-year-old Alex Jeffrey Preddy was an ICU nurse who worked at a VA hospital. Minneapolis police say he was a U.S. citizen with no criminal record, yet within hours of his death, senior DHS officials publicly labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist, claiming he intended to, quote, massacre law enforcement with a semi-automatic handgun. That claim seems to be in direct conflict with what multiple videos that we've seen and you've probably seen from the scene show. Before we show one of those angles, a warning for those watching at home, this video is very difficult to watch. The shooting has sparked immediate outrage from Democrats on Capitol Hill and around the country. Last night, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announced he would oppose any government spending package that includes funding for DHS. That bill would require 60 votes to pass in its current form, raising the real possibility of a government shutdown. Meanwhile, Congressman Robert Garcia, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, called for the impeachment of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and for ICE to be abolished altogether. And as questions mount around the killing of Alex Preddy, sources tell MS Now's Ken Dilanian and Carol Leonnig that DHS officials, not the FBI, will lead the investigation into the actions of its own officers. MS Now's Justice and Intelligence reporter Ken Dilanian joins us now. Ken, thank you for waking up with us this morning. This reporting from you and Carol is surprising and shocking, I think, to a lot of people. How abnormal is it for the DHS to investigate their own shooting?
Good morning, Eugene. Look, it's unheard of. The FBI is the federal agency that investigates officer-involved shootings and potential violations of civil rights by law enforcement, whether it's federal or state and local. DHS doesn't do that. The only time DHS is tangentially involved in officer-involved shootings is when its own inspector general participates, helps the FBI in an investigation. And of course, DHS, every law enforcement agency has their own internal shooting investigations, but those are for policy and civil questions, not for the criminal question that is really at stake here. So this is unheard of. It's essentially DHS investigating itself. It's the second time, obviously, in recent weeks that the FBI has taken a pass on a shooting, an officer-involved shooting that most people, Carol and I talked to, current and former FBI officials, believe they should be involved in. And it comes in a context here, really importantly, guys, that where the local Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the Minnesota local officials, are also trying to investigate this. And they say that they were blocked from the scene by federal agents, both FBI and DHS. They had to go to court. They sought a temporary restraining order to preserve the evidence, and they got it last night. A federal judge, has ordered the federal government to preserve the evidence in this case. I've never seen that before. And the the official who applied for this warrant, said that in their 25 years on the job, they had never seen federal agents blocking local agents from the scene of a shooting like this. So things are very unusual, and it's coming in the context of the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem making statements about this shooting that do not comport, as you know, with the video evidence. The way she's describing this is not what we're all seeing with our own eyes. So just a lot of big questions here about how this will be investigated, guys.
Ken, to your point about that court order telling the government to not destroy evidence, I'm just wondering how much concern, especially given what we have seen from the DHS secretary in terms of her characterization of what happened yesterday, how much concern is there that the federal government will actually comply with that order? Yeah,
that's an interesting and open question, Jonathan. There are huge concerns. I mean, to date, we've seen the Trump administration flirting with violating orders. Some people say they have violated some court orders, but generally they've been complying with them. There are still career lawyers at the Justice Department who understand that you have to comply with a court order. But what we saw yesterday, a lot of people believe was lawless actions by federal law enforcement officers. And they're concerned that those lawless actions could continue with the covering up of evidence or the hiding of evidence. That's a big concern. That's why these local officials went to a federal judge and they got that order. But you're right. I mean, in this country, we rely on the good faith of senior officials to comply with court orders. That is sort of a foundation of our democracy. And if that becomes a question mark, that is a huge, huge problem.
MS Now's Ken Dilanian was going to be very busy this upcoming week. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You bet.